Hello, my name is John Bannon. I'm an attorney and philosopher. In today's video, I'm going to explain why superdeterminism destroys Jean-Paul Sartre. Now, if you haven't heard of Jean-Paul Sartre, he's a famous French philosopher from the last century who espoused a philosophy known as existentialism. Now, the superdeterminism that I'm going to be talking about is Swedish theoretical physicist Dr. Johan Hansen's version of superdeterminism. He came out and published a proof in 2020, which you can find in the journal Physics Essays, volume 33, number 2, June of 2020. Starts on page 216 and ends on page 218. And it's called Bell's Theorem and Its Tests, Proof that Nature is Superdeterministic, Not Random. So I'm referring specifically to a superdeterministic universe, namely a static block universe without physical causation or without cause and effect or probabilistic causation in physics. Um, so let's get to what you didn't learn in college philosophy class, but should have learned. So I've put 5 points up where Jean-Paul Sartre is disproven by Dr. Hansen's proof of superdeterminism. So number 5 is the universe is without meaning or design. So this is what Sartre taught. However, our superdeterministic universe was atemporally created by God. So, whatever God's purpose was in creating our universe, that's the meaning of the universe and the life within it. Um, there is a very reasonable inference to be made that our superdeterministic universe was atemporally created, meaning outside of time, outside of space time. And that's because there's plenty of evidence of transcendent logic, and that implies a immaterial creator of our static block universe because the logic is transcendent. Um, so, if you have a supremely intelligent God who creates our static block universe simultaneously outside of space time, he has to know what he's creating in order to create it. So that means all the advanced technologies that appear in our static block universe, God would already have to know and fully understand those technologies in order to place them in the static block universe itself, which means God would have to be supremely intelligent by definition. Uh, because in our block universe, everything is static and nothing moves. So we're talking about 3 dimensions of space and one static dimension of time. Then our entire lives, from beginning to end, birth to death, have to still be in the static block universe. They're just in a different location within the static dimension of time. So you have an immortal, permanent block life in our universe. So, whatever meaning you have in your life, it has to be contained within your block life. It has to be. It can be nowhere else, which means that every life has meaning baked into it because it has a block life, a permanent block life in the universe. So every block life is part of the universal predetermined plan for the entire block universe. So you can't get away from meaning. There's no way to change it without physical causation. You can't escape meaning. Everything that lives has meaning in the block universe. All right. So Sartre was wrong. The universe does have meaning because it's created by God, and it was designed by God. So, number four, Sartre claimed that we choose our own morals while respecting the freedom of others. So Sartre basically claimed that we can choose our own morality through our freedom, so long as we respect the freedom that everybody else has. Now, this is completely untrue, completely false. Um, we cannot freely choose our own morals, even if we wanted to, without physical causation in the universe. So, our choice to choose a moral is actually something that could not possibly affect the predetermined future because there's no cause and effect in physics. So that means we can't actually choose our own morals. And it also means that others do not have freedom. You can't have freedom in a superdeterministic universe because none of your choices can impact or affect the predetermined future in the absence of cause and effect in physics. And even more so, because God created our universe atemporally, and because God predetermined Christian morality to be the predominant moral teaching in the world, then one can reasonably infer that God intended Christian morality to be our objective morals endorsed by God Himself. All right, number three. Sartre said, create your own meaning in life. Now, this is an impossibility. You cannot create your own meaning in life. You can't choose a meaning for yourself that changes the predetermined static block universe, including your block life. So that's an impossibility. In the absence of physical causation, it is logically impossible for you to create your own meaning in life. So superdeterminism clearly proves Sartre was wrong about being able to create your own meaning in life. Finally, number two and number one, these are the most famous things Sartre said. Sartre said we are condemned to be free. Now, of course, this is absolutely wrong because there is no free will in our superdeterministic universe. It's an impossibility without physical causation. Nothing you could decide would has any impact on changing the predetermined future. In fact, any decision you make is already predetermined. Whether you think it is or it isn't, that's besides the point. It is predetermined and you can't change it, not without cause and effect in physics. So we are not condemned to be free. In our universe, we are condemned not to be free. Now, to give you some uh, reason to still believe in free will, you can formulate or reformulate free will into something I call cinematism. And cinematism is the idea that before God created our universe, he knew what he was going to create. He knew all of human history that he was going to create. He knew all your thoughts, all your beliefs, all your decisions before he created the universe. So where did he get this information from? Well, he must have gotten it from his own omniscience, his own mind, which means that God has the ability to know hypothetically what you would do, what you would freely choose in any given situation. Well, God could have used that knowledge to predetermine our block universe and specifically your life on earth to exhibit what he already knew your freely will decision to be due to his metaphysical hypothetical knowledge of your free will. And because Christianity uh, says that you're responsible for your moral culpability or sinning, then you have to have free will in order to take that responsibility. And God would need cinematism, would have to have used cinematism in order to justify sending people for eternity to hell in the afterlife, or to reward them by sending them to heaven. So you can reasonably infer that God used cinematism in creating our universe, uh, because otherwise he'd be an unloving tyrant and puppet master if he didn't. So that's a pretty good reason to believe he used this because he can. So that's how you can reformulate free will. Cinematism doesn't give you free will on Earth. It just says that God knew what you would freely choose and predetermined our static block universe to exhibit what he already knew you would freely choose. All right, so finally, Sartre is most famous for saying that existence precedes essence. Now, existence precedes essence is the idea that we simply are born into this universe without any meaning or purpose or innate understanding of who we are, essentially what our essence is. So, our existence in this universe precedes what we understand ourselves to be as human beings. Um, this is, again, completely false. And the reason is this: in order for God to create our static block universe, he would have to know of everything and understand everything that is included within it before he created it. Because he predetermined the entire history of humanity to appear within our static block universe, including everything you ever do, decide, think, say, whatever, then that means God would have to have known and understood the essence of what it means to be a human or what it means to be you or me before he created humanity and us on this earth. So God would have to have known the essence of humanity and of people before he created the static block universe. So essence has to precede existence. Okay, well, there's 5 points that Sartre made, and they're all false under superdeterminism, essentially invalidating the most consequential aspects of his existentialist philosophy. And you're not going to learn that in college philosophy class, unfortunately. So I'll give you a second to look at the board. All right. Until next time, take care.